community and strong Perl community here in Utah. We're very grateful to have everybody out. So, just a little note, please. Of course, we're always changing things as, you know, whatever comes.
I'm Yaakov Sloman. I'm the community advocate for the Perl Foundation. And that's good. Community manager for the Perl community. That's not possible. So, actually, the idea has to do with making sure that all of you find a place in the community. And we really want you to be there. So get one of those ribbons, put it on your badge, and meet people and talk to them. It's very important to establish yourself in the community. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it.
Attending YAPC 31st conference. But since working with the Perl Foundation, YAPC has become a lot more important to me, because if there wasn't a YAPC there'd be no Perl Foundation. This conference was the catalyst that led to the creation of the foundation and is the highlight of our year, which gives us a great... This year we took part again in the Outreachy, which is a new name for the Outreach Program for Women. It's a paid program that encourages people from minority groups to work on open... is run by our grants team and Makoto Nozaki. I would like to thank Nozaki-san for all the work. It's really hard like that running, and he's always on time. So it's a great, very much Nozaki-san. We also run a fund to raise money for the Perl5 core. The Perl5 fund was created in 2011. 6,430 of Perl development and maintenance on 5. It's a great achievement. I'd like to thank everyone who's contributed. At the minute, we're funding the work of Dave Mitchell, and the reports can be read every month on our blog. We also can give out a small number of grants for traveling, and we did this year too. We would like to be able to continue funding this work throughout the next year. So I'm delighted to announce this morning that Booking.com, who have been involved in supporting the Perl5 fund since its inception, have donated another $60,000 US to the... Thank you. This year is an exciting six core development fund in order to be guided by Wen's Perl. Wendy and Liz. So Wendy and Liz company have been amazing supporters of the Perl community for years, and this is just another example of their generosity. Thank you very much. First grant of this fund has been awarded to Jonathan to spend 50% of his week working on Perl6. We're hoping to fund Jonathan for the rest. So if you or your company are donating to this fund, please see me or go to our donate page. During the conference, we're going to sell patches. We have a patch, and we have a patch. These patches cost $50, and if you buy 1 hour of time to the fund. So one of these patches will give another hour Perl6, and this we need and this one for Perl5. So the Perl Foundation is made up of a number of committees. It will not surprise you that it's a committee that is responsible for this conference. In the past few years, the conference has been evolving, and the expectations of attendees increases, and so have the number of volunteers who are involved. I'm not going to volunteer, as I know you'll want me off the stage, but I would like to make a couple of notable mentions. Jean Hack Anderson is our speaker coordinator for the conference, but unfortunately, due to illness, he can't attend. I would like to thank John for all your work, and I hope that you recover to see you back here. Chair in August of 2015. After organizing NA in Columbus, he has led the Perl Foundation in 3 successful YAPCs. Heath is stepping down at the end of this conference, and I would like to thank him. Thank you, Heath. He's down at the back. So once again, thank you all for coming. And now I will hand over to Sawyer to give us this tiny little velociraptor.
Just want to say that if Gene Hack doesn't feel better by next year, we're going to salsa. Don't worry. So, can someone switch the source, please? Or is it over here? Sorry. Are you allowed to swear? Okay. Yes. Thank you for little of the Velociraptor, which was a talk about the community. At EU, I will be giving this talk. My Tim Toady and all way to do it. And that extends beyond code. That extends to even talks. And there is more than one way to give the community talk. John Sawyer with this thing, Anderson, gave a keynote, and communities that together compose the greater community as its umbrella. At the end of the day, really about this vibes. We discuss things in the hallway track. We discuss things in alcohol, orange juice. We decided that this time we will actually represent these sub-communities and have each person from one of these sub-communities come up here and give a talk. Have to enjoy talks from several people. Rick will be talking to us about P5P, about Modulicious. Reba will be talking about DBIX class, and I will be talking about. Now, this is an experiment after all, and we don't know how. So if you like this, please let us know. If you don't like this, please let us know. If you feel that your sub-community is somewhere in that question mark and is not represented, please do let us know. Titled. Contact John, tweet at him, DM him. Started with this. To say a few words, even though he couldn't be here. Literally could not be hundreds of people who choose to be here. That it is his favorite conference, his favorite time of the year, and he is incredibly sad he is missing out on being in Salt Lake City with all of you. With people, he got a blog about it. You got to share the fun and next year. So now, the Perl5 lightning talks. I have Rick talking about P5P.
Unplug this HDMI? Fantastic. Okay. Not actually timed for 5 minutes, and you did. I'm going to talk about Perl5 porters and what's new. And the totally fair one is, what's Perl5 porters? Perl5 porters, someone's pointing at me. Okay. Oh, isn't it? It's a mailing list, IRC channel, and it's the place where the core is worked on. So when you run Perl, the program, Perl5 porters is the community, the mailing list in the IRC channel where we're discussing what kind of stuff we're going to release. So this works, and adapting to is in the process. And we've seen a lot of things that, first of all, it's totally positive. Everything about this is good. I can't think of a single thing that has made me unhappy about the new way of doing things, but doesn't mean that it's perfect. So for example, we have this code freeze, which is how we stop applying changes while we get ready to release. And it's really useful. We totally have to do it, but it's so long. The core is basically for 3 to 5 months, depending on how you crazy long. And we need to fix that. And what that means for how the reasons that we freeze, without just saying, well, we're just not going to freeze, fine, because it wouldn't just be fine. We need a plan. Another problem is, we make a lot of omelets. We make an omelet every year to release, broken, and we scramble and we try and times immediately wait and people put the fix in, the module Perl. fix, and it's written months in advance person, and there's no get our patch and apply. So when we released the new Perl, something's still broken. And we got a bunch of problems here, right? We need to be able to detect these problems as soon as possible. People doing this in the CPAN to get applied. How can we communicate the patches to people and get them applied? And if we can't get them applied, at least make them really, really easy for anybody to find. And it means we need a plan, and we need people to work on it. To get more people into it, we need people in sort of a P5P support group. P5P is hard to get into, and I don't think it's because it's full of terrible angry people. I think it's actually a pretty friendly place, but everybody is really busy and doing other stuff, and we need a way we don't need it for recovering core hackers, we need for better onboarding. This is where I start sounding like a manager. We're bringing people into the community, and they show up and they're like, I really want to work, and hey, go do some work.
Was exactly the amount of time that we did.
What? Yeah, we've got a little elephant in the room. We had a bit of a MojoConf fail. I need to briefly, as people have asked me kind of what happened, I'll give you a tiny slice. MojoConf 2014 was awesome. It was some of the best, and that's all the Oslo Perlmongers who just did the best thing that an individual Perl group can do, and they did it all on their own. It was quite cool. Until 2015, Oslo Perlmongers and who's when do we have to pick a way to do an official call for proposal and come up with some kind of a selection committee. I've already talked briefly about this, so if you guys, whenever there's like nested helpers, it agrees much more secure that are run sort of under the same umbrella. Mojo PG happened this year. It's a Postgres wrapper. It does use DG, nicely feel Mojo-y. Got some non-block Postgres, and if you'd like to give it a, think you'll like it. Its Minion is the job queue that is integrated with Mojolicious if you install it. It's written to be integrated with Mojolicious. It has been recently rewritten to allow pluggable backends, and currently the ones that we distribute are Postgres and file-based via. I believe there are others that are either in process or maybe on CPAN. We're not sure what to do. Sebastian told me the other day as I showed him these slides, he said, boy, it's like Mojo grew up or something. Yeah, it kind of did. So we're not guaranteeing anything like that. Of course, you know that's not going to happen. But it's feeling like I got it down. Tech and Power Framework Benchmarks. And I did so because it was really for the Perl community. Someone wrote and distributed it to this site. And I think someone else then took that app, all the other ones, and made the minor tweaks necessary to make them work. And none of them worked well. And by the time one that they actually show on their site, which was 7, I think, none of them even functioned. So they all showed up at the bottom as did not pass and could work on their own. I fixed up the ones I couldn't poke people about. And so now they all pass, but they're not very fast. So I did the Mojo one, of course. If you are interested in your framework, if it's not there already, or making your framework look better, come talk to me and I can tell you how to get involved in this. It's good on it. Other little thing, there's also a Perl5 Raptor shirt, which I kind of like, tomorrow. But support the project a little. If you like it, go find it. Nice high quality shirts. I'm giving a talk JS, testing Mojo, but also testing other PSGI apps with module, your app. It's going to be an interesting, you'll come see that. And Jeremy Zawad, Craigslist is going to talk about how they're using Mojo. Not here. That would make me very sad. Oh no. All right, see me, right? Oh, I'm sad now. Okay. That's all I had. I want to bring success for see me about those too if you have them. So that's what I've got. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the conference.
You might need to clap like really tall, and he can't hear up there. So you might, thank you, just louder. Thank you.
So yeah, I'm really, really prepared, as I think this slide makes really. So this is what you get. Talk about moose trends in Michigan. It's a little concerning that the population has been dropping in the Upper Peninsula. So yeah, that was one of the first things I found when I was trying to get some information about this. However, because I'll just cut to the chase, which is in the second year. 11% of the moose, who, by the way, died of things like brainworms and winter ticks. So let's all just be conference and not moose in Minnesota, because it really great. I mean, even if you're not one of the 11%, just be alive with a brainworm. So good times. Now, in other moose news, let's talk about changes in the moose core since last year. So really the big new feature is that we have support for overloading in the core. It used to be you had to use this module MooseX roll with overloading. That's really nice. And of course, besides any sorts of features, there are brainworm. A good chunk of them. Particularly, I want to thank Karen Etheridge, also known as Ether, for doing a lot of great work on moose. We also have a notable moose personality here at YAPC, Upasana Shukla, who has said her name wrong, because apparently that's one of her things. She's here at her first, so that's really exciting. I don't see where she is. Anyway, she did work on structured exceptions for moose, which was a huge improvement as part of GNOME's outreach program for women, now known as Outreaching or something. Outreachy, that's weird. Anyway, she did it as part of the program formerly known as Outreach, so thank you so much. So if you want to get involved in moose, there's in the form of patches. Of course, there's always work that can be done on the docs. I wrote them a few years ago and they're perfect, but they improved anyway. Some things that would be particularly to help implement that. There's modules that their functionality to the core, notably MooseX non-moose, would be a great candidate. There's a lot of stuff in the to-do file in the repo. If you're interested in helping out, you can come to the channel on irc.perl.org and chat with us about it. And of course, also just come to the Moose channel on irc.perl.org if you have any sort of questions about using Moose. If you wanted advice, which you will get whether you want it or not. Love to get people using Moose. There's also, of course, Moo and discussion about Moo in the channel. And a lot of the things you learn about Moose are and vice versa. I didn't talk about Moo because I'm not really involved in that. A lot of good work on Moo over the past year as well. Lots of new releases with lots and changes. And that is pretty much it for me. So thank you very much.
All right. Cool. Hi. How is everybody today? Whoa, nice, nice. By the way, I didn't get a chance to get on IRC, and this is what most of you know about it. It's basically the page where you all go to get your document. This stuff, none of this fancy stuff existed, like in nobody's mind or anything. The name of the module was Because the Brain is a Terrible Thing to Waste. So, and yeah, it's grown a little bit. Actually, this year we just crossed 100,000 lines of code the way there, right in the middle. And I kind of learned. And yeah, the most important is that we still keep getting people actively, working on this thing, and it's not just a one-man show. Even though the coordination is mostly a one-man show, but the actual contributions come from all over the place, big and small. And actually, if you're in your tests today, you will see. Right, so as the actual change happen, so here we have languishing stuff, and those are, by the way, this a very readable Perl code, the way you should write, and if I remember, 4,000 here. And things still work, and people their applications written like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. The ones that were years ago don't work anymore. I'm sorry. We couldn't keep the brain warm. We have about every 4 months now, for 4 to 6 months, and as you can see here in the head, I have scheduled about another, well, because yeah, the projector is looking weird, but there is scheduled another 1,400 lines of with some 600 deletions. Hopefully this will show up on CPAN in about 3 weeks or so. Yeah, and so this is about DBIC itself, but we have a large ecosystem as well. A lot of very interesting projects are getting built on top of DBIC. One such project actually is being presented tomorrow. It's called RapidApp. There on the top left corner, have the time, and if you're sober enough to attend something at 9 in the morning, I will not be. Please go and see that because the work is truly phenomenal. This is not your written by Joel Berger, which is basically a little CMS that you basically just set up by. Why is my so weird? It looks completely different here. But anyway, yes, so you just set up, you start your daemon, and you have a little modular application serving your little, CMS site based on DBIC and modular. And of course, a lot of other more infrastructural projects to show here, especially for today's Web 2.0. But DBIC does actually a lot of the backend. Big company to sponsor this conference. Right. I think that's pretty much my slide deck, and unfortunately, there is not much I can say about DBIC because
Now, another talk. I don't want to speaker. So I'm here to talk.
This is Sawyer. Have you met him? He's cool.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm supposed to talk about Dancer, and so I have time, or I wasn't bothered, or whatever it is, to prepare slides. The best way for me to introduce a topic would be just every time I answer, you get a kick. Okay? Fair. All right. Okay, let's do this thing. So, I don't remember doing this. What the? Yeah, you turn on slide. There we go. All right. Okay. Okay. Some big dependencies. We still have some work, but things are smaller. We have in Dancer we've reduced the code complexity. We've reduced code. Sometimes the leading code is actually reducing code, and we're working hard. Thank you. I'll quote Mark Dominus, who said that a program is not perfect when there's nothing to add. A program is perfect when there is nothing to remove. So we've been working hard on removing. Now, recently added. Okay, is it? What's going on here? Okay, we added in Dancer full streaming asynchronous support, which it's actually used in serving in Dancer is now streaming if you have a server that supports it. A few thousand. We have a lot of community participation working with Outreachy. So Dancer is stable, production ready. Really enjoy that. We've been seeing Dancer used in a lot of core professionals this year, and maybe even around here. And for your time and produce this picture. Damn it. And lastly, I've wanted to meet for a long time.
Polsky mistake. All right, so I'm David Golden. I'm involved in Perl toolchain and CPAN testers work. This talk is actually going to spend a lot more time on Perl toolchain and a little less on CPAN testers, but it will get sort of woven through as we go. Somehow, the community, the Velociraptors talk starting about, we seem to actually be ready to end about on time, so I'm going to try to respect that. This is a little bit longer than I was asked to cover sort of two things, and instead I decided to take advantage of that to talk about more the things that are dual life, things that live in the Perl itself, and as well as some popular alternatives, things like CPAN minus or Mojo build tiny, things that have powerful imagery that sort of is the thing that is what makes Perl what it is. It makes it why we want to use it. But the reality is that this picture is what most of us experience on a day-to-day basis, and for some people, particularly Peter, and others, the reality of CPAN looks a lot more like this. You're trying to get some, and everywhere you go, there's a massive amount of trash around you, and you have to sweep it out of the way before you can. The tool chain and how we think about of tool chain. The river analogy came out of a discussion with Peter trying to make some with the attendees, and it became very useful. And so you could think about the river of CPAN sort of like this picture. Very, very far upriver are things that lots and lots of dependence. So not just things that depend on you, but things that depend on them, and so on and so forth, all the way to something doesn't have any dependencies anymore. And there's about 50 distributions get, most of the models on CPAN have very, very few dependencies. But a big thing that we don't capture in this analysis, which was based on the meta.json files on CPAN, is undeclared dependencies past CPAN. Analogy turned out to be really useful for this reason. When some part of CPAN starts dumping crap into the water around it, that water starts flowing downriver. Just like this boat is dumping things into the water and it's all flowing downhill. Everything downriver of where the trash goes into the water is something that everybody else experiences. So if you're sort of low down in the CPAN river, you might have maybe a dozen dependent things that depend on you. Well, you know, maybe somebody noticed, maybe they don't. But as you go upriver, now you get to the point where now you're starting to break people's apps. If you're up in this sort of top 200 zone and you break something, your tests fail. Guess what? Downriver, you can't install crappy Brown. Here's an example. It's coincidence that my example is with Dancer 2. This is an excerpt from CPAN Testers site deps.cpantesters.org for Dancer 2 on 22. Dancer needs fail their tests. Somebody trying to install Dancer 2 is going to have to cope with, potentially, all of these failures. And this bar at the bottom that says chance of all tests passing is mostly red. The chance that you can, from a fresh Perl install, get all of Dancer 2 installed is actually pretty low because of, and that sucks. And then that brings us to toolchain. Situation for toolchain. When toolchain broke, I broke CPAN. Everybody downriver pretty much suffers. And I will give a very personal example of this. I invented Strawberry Perl, not portable. I think, and kudos there. But so I have a very fondness for Strawberry Perl, and I felt bad when I broke it. And here's how it happened. So one of the modules that I maintain is CPAN meta YAML, which we use for looking at meta files during the and YAML is a very thin veneer over YAML tiny, which itself is an Adam Kennedy version of Ingi's YAML. So CPAN meta has the same rules. YAML, according to the spec, does not allow duplicate keys are illegal in YAML, and so and that YAML file contains duplicate keys. So somebody has a very nicely working structure. And other reasons was that we support every 5.8.1 on. This isn't new, but this was sort of a restatement of a principle from previous QA hackathons. Second point is we want to have more than one maintainer. That leads to wanting to have more than one set of eyes on changes before shipping. I shouldn't just take the CPAN workers mailing list. So this is CPAN workers at perl.org. If you're curious to follow along, like any other Perl list. And the mailing list will be where we talk about changes. If the group can't agree or reach some sort of consensus, we agreed that the pumpkin would break because the pumpkin is so intimately connected to Perl and so many of the modules are dual life anyway, the pumpkin is the right person to break ties. We then said that we want to try to verify stability in some way before we ship a non-alpha to CPAN. So something that's actually going to get indexed and actually become the thing that downloads, MetaYAML did for Strawberry Perl Portable. We want to test stability in a better way than we do today. So that means, among other things, definitely shipping non-alpha releases and checking them, particularly checking systems and different versions of Perl. For anybody who is used to looking at things on MetaCPAN or also search.cpan.org, there's usually a link for any distribution how doing across different versions of Perl and different platforms. And so if you're particular platform or one particular version of Perl, you can check talking about other things that can make it better, trying to do more sort of sample dependency testing. And I think we'll see more of this going forward. Successors. So rather than a handful of people who are positive and new pause, administrators will be somebody's track record if they want to take over an upriver. We want somebody who has a history of committing to that project or who is otherwise heavily involved in a distribution. Now what we're going to do is tell you, you failed because you couldn't be satisfied with. So that a little bit better insight and an early warning system into their own upriver dependencies having problems. And I think we're also getting more statistics census. J.MP CPAN River will take you to it. There's a very large section about recommendations for CPAN authors at different parts along the river. I encourage anybody who's a CPAN author or even a DarkPAN author, read it and think about how to, this picture. We'd like to get back to the majestic we know and love. Thank you.
Person grooming majestic beard.
It is